we're going to start talking about primary-age children. We're looking at kids in first, second, and third grades. And I thought, especially since we have a good number of people here who are experienced catechists, you can really help us with this. We're going to be inviting you to be typing in a word that you think best describes this age group. In the meantime, what we're going to be doing in the next few moments is taking a look at some very specific qualities, characteristics of the primary age child. And so we're looking at kids who are between the ages of 6 through about 9 years old. And I'm going to lay out for you some very specific things that can help you to understand this very interesting group of young people that we're called to teach. Well, it looks like we have a nice list of things coming in there, Nick. Why don't I toss it back to you and share some of these words and phrases that people are telling us about primary-age kids.
All right, Joe, we've got a lot of good ones. We have things like busy, honest, curious, short, eager, fun, trusting, open, loving, open-minded, enthusiastic, curious and friendly, inquisitive and energetic. A lot of very positive qualities, Joe.
Okay, that's good. I love the one who said short. But that's funny. Last year when I taught fourth graders who are in intermediate, that was the first thing that struck me when I walked in and saw how little they were. So that can be an eye-opener to see just how little these kids are. A wonderful list of words that folks have sent in, and thanks for sharing those. And I think you're going to see those echoed in what I'm about to share with you. So let's take a look at some of the characteristics of this age group. One of the things we can say about primary-age children is that in some ways this is really what you can call the golden age of childhood. These kids are really at an age where it's just an age of wonder. They're so filled with curiosity and enthusiasm, and it's just such a special age. And to call it a golden age, I think, is not an understatement. So I really envy people who have an opportunity to teach this age. At the same time, we're going to see that there are some real challenges involved, too. Kids this age are filled with a wonderful curiosity. A few of you mentioned that in your list. They are just so open to the world. They're open to learning about the world around them. They really love to explore. Kids this age are also experiencing some very rapid growth, and that growth is both physical as well as intellectual, which means that it's really a great time for learning. They are physically wired to learn. Their brains are wired to take in a lot of information at this age. So when I say they're wired, that's sometimes they're just wired in terms of being a little too excitable. But they really are at a good place for learning and memorizing, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. One of the things that's really wonderful about primary-age children is their sense of imagination. It is seemingly endless, and that's something that you can use to your advantage as a catechist, because it really takes great imagination to open oneself up to the kingdom and to open yourself up to the gospel of Jesus. So their imaginations are going to be a great thing to tap into. And I mentioned before that these kids sometimes are just plain wired. They have a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, and sometimes that can be our best friend. Other times it's going to be our worst enemy. So keep that in mind, their enthusiasm and excitement. Let's take a look at some more characteristics of these young people of God. How about when it comes to their moral development? What's interesting is that kids this age are motivated to do good, usually simply to avoid punishment. And so one of the jobs that we have is to begin to bring them to the next level. We start to help them to realize that we do good just for the sake of doing good, not just to avoid punishment. in terms of their also their moral development, they're at an age where they're really beginning to form a conscience. They're learning right from wrong, and that's why this is the perfect age for teaching them about the sacrament of reconciliation in their preparation for First Holy Communion, because their conscience is forming, and they really start to get the idea of when something is right and when something is wrong. Kids this age are pretty much the center of their own world. When you think about it, we're all born that way. And some people never quite grow out of that notion, I suppose. But we need to be patient with these kids because they are so wrapped up in their own world. We need to invite them and challenge them to begin thinking about the needs of others. Also, kids at this age really need a good deal of affirmation, and it really means a lot to them to have affirmation coming from someone like you, an important adult in their lives. It really boosts them up quite a bit. And then also they have a real need for security and structure. And we're going to see how catechists have a really great opportunity to provide both of those in your lessons, to create an environment in which kids feel safe and secure, and lesson plans that are structured in such a way that the kids really feel a sense of continuity, and just it gives them a sense of comfort to know that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to the lessons that you're teaching. A few more thoughts, and then we're going to hear from catechists who have sent me advice to share with you about working with kids this age. I mentioned about structure. One of the things that we can do as catechists of primary age children is to really work on the fact that they love ritual. You know how when you play with, your own kids who are little, or your grandchildren, or a niece or nephew, and you do something fun, and they say, again, again. Well, that's because they love ritual. They love for good things to continue to happen in the same way. And so we're going to see how you can introduce them to some very simple rituals of our Catholic faith, which we'll talk about later. Kids this age have a natural sense of wonder. They're really primed for learning about the mystery of our faith and the mystery of God's presence in this world. So this is another exciting thing about teaching children at this age. I'm thrilled to have a couple of nieces and nephews at this age, and so I just recently spent a good deal of time with them and saw so many of these things in them as well. Something that's important for us in terms of leading prayer is that these children are capable of reflecting for short periods of time, emphasis on short. They are not only short people, they also have very short attention spans. But the fact is that we can lead them in guided reflections, guided meditations, but they're going to be very short. We're going to show you a little bit about how to do that. I've mentioned that kids are growing rapidly and that their brains are literally exploding. The new neuron connections are happening all the time, which means that it's actually a very good age for children to take simple prayers and simple doctrinal formulas to heart. That means to memorize them, but I like to use the phrase take to heart because we're not just learning these things with our head, we learn with our heart as well, learn the meanings behind what the teachings of the church are. And then kids these days are also capable of praying spontaneously. They're really capable of just talking to God as though he were another friend sitting in the room, which, interestingly enough, is advice that St. Ignatius of Loyola gave to all of his followers. He says that we should all be able to pray as though it's one friend talking to another. And so kids can actually teach us a lot about praying spontaneously.